For joining me once again. So this is going to be a really short, specific, and to the point episode. What we're going to cover today is 5 questions I have for the Notre Dame offense as we enter 2021. We all know there's major roster turnover at some very important positions. There's just a lot of questions I have about this offense. So what I'm going to go over shouldn't be earth-shattering. These are not novel ideas. These are items that should be on all of our minds as Notre Dame fans. I just want to document them here so that we could track how these items progress as we enter next year. So I'm going to go over these 5 points, why I think they're important, and what I'm looking for out of them, okay? So before we get into it, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up afterwards if you approve, okay? So let's get into this. 5 questions I have about our offense moving forward into 2021. Number 1, what's the plan at quarterback? Okay. Everybody knows I talk about it all the time. Quarterback is the single most important individual position in all of sports. It is the one position that could change your football team in an instant if you have an elite guy. Okay. It can also hold you back if you have a very, very good team and an average quarterback. We all know how important that position is, okay? Notre Dame finds itself in a very interesting position entering this transitional year in 2021 before the schedule gets extremely tough with Clemson and Ohio State both years in 22 and 23. Next year's got to be the year we figure this out, okay? So you got Pine, you got Clark, you got Buckner, you have the transfer Cone. What's the plan? I think the plan was hopefully Buckner blew everybody away. You could start him as a freshman. That plan, I think, got interrupted because his senior season in high school got messed up because of the virus, okay? So is the plan just to hand this off to Cone and let him go all next year? Is Buckner going to have a chance to compete for that starting position right away in camp? Or is this going to be a situation where we see a little bit of Buckner in up to 4 games so he doesn't lose the eligibility going over, get some on-field repetition, advance his development, not lose a year? I got to know what the plan is, okay? I cover all the time on this show. It is my opinion. Notre Dame cannot get to where they want to get, which means postseason success, without borderline elite or elite quarterback play. Not really good, not very good, not pretty good, not above average. I think it's going to take elite, okay? So that dictates how all the rest of the Kelly era is going to go, what happens at the quarterback position, okay? So I don't know. It seems like this is mostly Cone Buckner. I'm interested to see how Pine and Clark fit into this dynamic, okay? So that's number 1. Brian Kelly has to get it right this time. Whoever he's hitching his wagon to this time throughout the end of his Notre Dame tenure, this has to be the one or it's over, okay? Number 2, offensive line, you're about to be tested, okay? You're going to have almost a fully brand new starting offensive line, 4 out of 5 guys, okay? Notre Dame entered 2020 with 114 starts combined from the offensive line. 2021, they will enter with only 31 starts, okay? So this is going to be a big shift, okay? Notre Dame got all this credit for being a tough, great offensive line the last couple of years. Major turnover. Will there be a drop-off? I honestly expect there to be one at least next year as these guys all break in working together, okay? So will there be a drop-off is one question. The second question is, how much is the drop-off? I think it's obviously fair and reasonable to assume with almost a whole brand new offensive line, there's going to be some growing pains as they learn to play as one unit together in sync, okay? So my question really isn't, will there be a drop-off? I do expect there to be one. I'm not going to like it. I'm going to complain about it, but that's just how the process of evolution goes with an offensive line, okay? So I'm just looking to minimize the drop-off and see this new offensive line gel very quickly, very efficiently so that we could not have to worry about that and focus on other things. Okay. Here's number 3. Number 3 is extremely important to me, and it's something that it's been bothering me. Okay. Number 3 is, will we see a noticeable shift in offensive philosophy with the goal being to get more explosive downfield? Okay. This is important to me because I feel like we saw a ton of evidence this year in 2020 that showed us the way we've been doing it isn't good enough to win a title, not even close. Okay. I don't see how anybody could question that based on the offense we rolled out there in our last 2 big games against elite rosters, elite coaching staffs. Okay. The offense was totally limited, and against those good teams, you have no chance if you can't stretch the field. Period. End of discussion. Okay. So if we don't see some sort of noticeable philosophical shift offensively, this is going nowhere. Okay. Status quo is not an option for the offense if Notre Dame wants to compete for a title before Brian Kelly retires. Okay. We just saw proof of that. So I'm not asking to avoid the power run game and not be physical at all up front and all that stuff and use the tight ends and Kyron. I'm not saying to avoid all that or not focus on it or not make it a priority, turn into a Big 12 team whipping it all over 80 times a game. I'm not saying that. But what I didn't know was I didn't know I had to pick one or the other. People are coming at me like, oh, you don't want to turn into this throw it all over and a type. I'm not saying to avoid a physical run game and offensive line. I need you to do that and be able to stretch the field. So that when it makes sense, you need to power run the ball to run out a drive to run out the first half, or you're winning by a field goal, you need a 5-minute drive to run out the clock to win the game. Damn sure I want that physical offensive line be able to pound the ball. But I also need you to at least be able to stretch the field, be a threat down there, loosen up the back end of a defense. Okay? If we don't see a shift in that regard, this is going nowhere, and you're going to get the same results we've gotten. Notre Dame could beat probably in any given year with Notre Dame's schedule. They could beat 10 or 11 teams on the regular season schedule doing what we've been doing because we have more talent on the roster, period. So you can win a boatload of regular season games, but I'm not interested in that. We are way past the point of that being the goal and getting bouquets of flowers for doing that. We're way past that point. So keep doing what you're doing and you're going to look good in the regular season. Beat 10 or 11 teams. Same results can happen to us in the playoff if things don't shift. So here's my worry with this, okay? I need to know the powers that be in Notre Dame's offensive strategic room see this and recognize what I see. And the reason I'm worried about that is Brian Kelly's ultra defensive press conference after the playoff game saying, we are who we are, whatever, kind of a get used to it moment again from Brian Kelly. I don't know whether that was just defensive in the moment after your second tough loss in a row, all that frustration, deflecting blame off the players. Like, there's many different avenues a coach could take going into a press conference. Sometimes he wants to take the bullets, deflect it away from the players, whatever it might be. But Brian Kelly seemed pretty damn defiant in that post-game presser that he kind of said, we are what we are, we're going to be back here. I need to know somebody in that building sees what I see. And they're sitting there right now as I'm recording this, trying to figure out a way to get a more aggressive, efficient, downfield threat offense. Okay? I'm on edge because I am not certain that Notre Dame sees this the same way I do, but it's plain as day right in front of you what needs to happen. So status quo is fine if you just want to win 10 or 11 regular season games, get your doors blown off in the playoff because you don't have an offense that can compete. Okay, so I am looking for early in the spring when practice gets going again, I need to see some differences here in what we're trying to do offensively. Okay, without it, forget it. Okay, so number 4 is what wide receivers will step up next year? So that obviously connects to the quarterback note that I just had and the offensive schematic note that I just had. Okay. Can we get a year with a healthy Austin, a healthy Lindsey, Watts, Jordan Johnson, Lawrence Keys, Wilkins? I think there's some decent talent there, but can they stay healthy / and or out of Brian Kelly's doghouse and have a more wide receiver friendly attacking type scheme? Okay. I feel like there's some talent here and it's just being wasted because the guys either can't see the field because they're hurt. They're not, it's not efficient when they are out there, what they're doing. Maybe some of that has to do with past quarterback limitations or whatever. You got guys in the doghouse. I still don't understand what the deal with Braden Lindsey was. Hurt, not hurt, doghouse out there, but not playing. I don't get it, but I know it's not good enough the way we're doing it, okay? So what wide receivers will step up next year that are already on the roster? Here's number 5. What incoming freshmen can contribute right away to this offense, okay? I say all the time, the quickest way to improve your overall program is have an elite quarterback. 100%, that is the fastest way to become nationally relevant and competitive. You bring an elite quarterback, a naturally elite quarterback into your building. It raises the possibilities of what's possible for the entire operation. So the elite quarterback piece is number 1. Number 2 is if you could get some young guys, you're not banking on getting production from young. They come in and they can produce. That is just the best possible scenario you could be in. You go into the season having an idea of your depth chart at this position. You get some younger guys in there. They might surprise you. Now your competition level's deeper. Your too deep is deeper, okay? It gives you more flexibility, options, competition, all that stuff. I'm looking at Deion Colsey. I'm looking at Lorenzo Styles. Styles especially needs to be a part of offense and special teams. Day 1, minute 1. Day 1, minute 1. There's no excuse not to play these young guys next year. Next year is a total kind of a reboot, okay? So it's a transitional year next year. You got a lot of new moving pieces. That's the time. See who can help you so that when you get into 22 and you're opening the season against Ohio State at the Horseshoe, you got guys that you think can play and you've seen them do it and you know they could do it, okay? So these are some major question marks with way more moving pieces than we've seen in the roster lately. It is the perfect time to adapt, modernize, retool this offense. The timing of it is perfect. New quarterback, brand new offensive line, new quarterback coming in, all that stuff. It's perfect. Now's the time to get freaking modern or you're going to get the exact same results we've been getting. Okay, so I didn't mention Michael Mayer. I didn't really mention Kyron Williams. And the reason why is those are not questions. These are 5 questions I asked. I have no questions about what guys like that are capable of. The only question I have with guys like Kyron and Mayer and Tyree is, are they being used properly? So my questions have nothing to do with those guys, their skill set, how they could produce. My question about those guys is usage. Are you getting the absolute most you could get out of your fastest guy, Chris Tyree? Okay? Are you getting the most you can out of Mike Mayer? I don't think you are. I love him running those short crossers. Why can't you run him straight up the seam? Instead of going sideways, run a route for him 20 yards straight up the gut and throw him the ball, okay? So that's my question with those guys. It's not about them. It's about usage, okay? So to recap our 5 questions, what's the plan at quarterback? Key to everything. Number 2, offensive line U is about to be tested. Limit those growing pains. Number 3, will we see a noticeable philosophical shift for the Notre Dame offense. If you don't, forget the playoff. You're never going to win a game in it, okay? See you later, Kelly. It ain't happening. Number 4, what wide receivers already in the building are ready to step up? Number 5, what young guys can contribute early, okay? Those are the questions I'm asking about the offense. We're going to track the progression of each of these items as we move forward. That's all. Take care. Have a good one.